Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. I'm Lauren Bolander and this guy over here is Captain Rick Murphy.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. Week 4 and we have a pretty big show coming up, I think.
Yes, we do.
I think so. You want to hear about it?
Well, groupers. Tell me about it.
That's right. Let's just get to it, guys. It is about grouper this week. All 9 of our regional captains from across the state are going to fill us in on that and plenty more. And of course, we also have Navionics. We will be zooming in on the Southwest region tonight, where Captain Rick will show you around. And as always, we'll give Dave Farrell a turn as he mans the workbench. Hey, Dave.
I've got company.
What?
We said 9 captains. We've got 10 captains who are going to tell us about grouper fishing. Mr. Glenn Cameron, the grouper pro, is going to share his knowledge.
Welcome to the show, Glenn. We're glad to have you.
Show you how to crush them.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
All right. Well, I can't wait to get with that over at the workbench a little later.
I tell you, bonus captain.
Absolutely.
Nice.
We're captained out.
All right, Rick. Well, I do think we're probably going to have a group effort here, if you will, tonight with this big show. So we're glad to have Captain Glenn there.
So let's talk about the groupers. You know, Lauren, the cool part about groupers is we've got red groupers, we've got black groupers, we've got Goliath groupers, an array of different groupers. But the most common groupers that we find here in the beautiful state of Florida is the gag groupers, which let's take a look at the first picture. It was sent in by Chris Cardella off of Delray Beach. This was a 20-pounder that he caught on a 5-ounce Williamson Benthos jig, which we'll talk about jigging. That's one of the ways we catch them. The next guy is Josh Tuttle out of Boca Raton. Now, he traveled across the state to Sarasota and caught this 14-pound red grouper, different shaped body, as you can see, Lauren. And then we have George Macwick, who caught this out of Lighthouse Point, but he caught this black grouper, as you can see the edges there, in the Keys, which he released and let it go so somebody else could catch it. But we've got a big show ahead of us, so let's get started.
Certainly. Let's do that, guys. We're going to kick it off tonight in the Southwest, and to do that, we'll welcome Captain Ron Houston to the show as our leadoff man. Hey, Captain Ron.
Like always, guys, it's a pleasure being here. You know, the most common grouper in the region on the southwest coast of Florida is generally the gags and the reds. Now, you want to concentrate on looking for these fish around structure, ledges, and hard bottom. Now, generally in the wintertime, the grouper fishing is at its best. You can start fishing for these fish in depths of about 25 feet and beyond. It can be relatively simple. Baits of choice can include large lip, deep diving plugs, bucktail jigs, 2 to 5 ounce, depending upon the current, and that's really important. Or you can go old school and put glow tails on those bucktails. If you don't want to use the glow tails, simple tip with squid will also work. But a variety of baits will work for these fish, to include herring, squid, sardines. The smelly baits are about the best for the red grouper, but I'll tell you what, to catch that good-sized gag grouper, it's nothing like a large pinfish or a grunt to catch that gag grouper. Fish right now up to 30 inches are common, starting at about 18 to 40 miles out. And guys, our grouper fishery is the best it can be in the last couple of years. And not only is it in the wintertime, you can catch plenty of grouper here all year round. It's been great. Just make sure you watch out for those open and closed seasons. Another thing that's going on out here on the offshore with the northeast cool breeze we've had in the last couple of days and the easterly winds are the Spanish mackerels. Concentrate on fishing for these fish right now from the beach line out to 10 miles all through the region from Marco Island to Boca Grande. Key things to look for are pods of birds and large schools of baits on top of the water. Now also, most noted structure within 10 miles will hold these fish, especially with schools of bait on top. Simple to catch these fish, relatively simple for kids and family. White bucktails, silver spoons, plenty of pilchards are baits of choice right now. Now, while you're fishing some of these Spanish mackerels, if you get some large thread fins or catch some blue runners on the way out, guys are picking up scattered kingfish. Drop it down below the Spanish mackerel schools. Right now, the kings are up to about 15 pounds. Spanish mackerel are averaging 2 to 5 pounds. With plenty to be caught with this beautiful weekend we have coming up. On the inshore side, you want to concentrate on the tarpon. With the water temps heating up, tarpon are on the move right now from Lossman's River to Coon Key. Now, you want to look for these fish early morning with the sun at your back. You want to concentrate with the low water we're going to have this weekend in depths of about 6 to 15 feet. Also, most noted structure up to about 8 miles out while you're permit fishing will also be holding these fish. Don't forget the main passes on low water to look for these fish. Moving pods of fish, also look for rolling fish and free jumping fish. Baits of choice are large lip plugs. Special colors right now, which has been working great, is the red and white. The oranges it will work, black and silver. Also live ladyfish, mullet, and pinfish. Also for those fish that are tough to catch and get finicky in the heat of the day, cut baits such as ladyfish, mullet, catfish along the bottom for finicky feeders. Right now the fish are averaging anywhere from 90 to 150 pounds. A little further north on the inshore side, we're going to concentrate on the wet fish. West side of Lemon Bay, the Gasparilla, Bull, and Turtle Bay. Now this is an early morning bite before the heat of the temperatures on the incoming tide. Concentrate looking for mullet schools or walk the dog lures in chartreuse, bone chartreuse, and red and white. As temperatures heat up, you want to start using gold spoons, also cut mullet, ladyfish, and live pilchards, or you want to concentrate on using the Bass Assassin 4-inch paddle tails, casting potholes in drunk monkey or molting. Typical size for these fish right now are 20 to 30 inches. And then closing, you can catch me the next couple days up in Panacea for Rock the Dock tournament. That'll be going on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll be giving demo rides for Yamaha, Humminbird, also doing stuff with Minn Kota and giving plenty of handouts for Bass Assassin. So come see me up there. And guys, I handled the whole report. Thanks for being here.
All right, great job, Midnight. We're going to go ahead and get to the Southwest region hotspots from Ronnie's region. Inshore, snook, midnight until dawn fishing all the docks. Look for those large boats and the seawalls using lip plugs, soft plastic shrimp, and make sure you got current. That's a must. And then offshore, permit. New pass to Redfish Pass, 5 to 15 miles out on noted structure using live crabs to catch those permit, Lauren.
All right, now let's head even deeper south to our La Jolla region. Grouper are not in season just yet in the Florida Keys, but Captain Randy Tao, season is quickly approaching. What can you tell us about grouper down there?
Hey guys, good evening. I'll tell you, it's one of our most popular fish down here. It's great to eat, they're strong fighting, and people love to catch groupers all year long. And it is closed right now till May 1st, but there's several ways of catching groupers down here. A lot of guys will go to the patch reefs. That's a popular place in the wintertime, kind of the shallow water. But a lot of those fish, you're going to catch big numbers. You're not going to catch many that are going to be legal size. Now, getting into some of the bigger groupers, if you want to target the blacks and the reds and the gag groupers that we have on some of the reef spots, you're going to find them in the deeper water anywhere from 80, where you might yellowtail fish, out to 150 feet or 200 feet on some of these wrecks. Live bait is your best choice, something like a grunt, a pinfish, a speedo, not a long leader, maybe 8 feet long, but you want to get down to them, have a stiff rod. I like using braid, 60 to 80-pound braid, and you want to hang on because these things, when you hook them, they're going to take you back to their house, and that's what they do. But that's how you're going to catch a lot of the groupers here. We also have them in the Gulf on some of the wrecks back there, and most of these fish are always going to hang around structure. So that's usually where you're going to find your groupers, and that's why you got to have the heavy tackle to get these fish away from those obstructions if you want to keep them. You can also find some of these deep water groupers. We deep drop here as well, all throughout the Keys, from 400 to 800 feet of water, and you're going to find some warsaws and snowy groupers out there. A lot of that fishing guys are using electric reels for, but if you're really one of the tough guys and you want to hand crank that deep on some braided line, well, you got your hands full. And that's some of the best eating fish we have out in that deep water. Our offshore humps right now have been really popular with sharks, tiger sharks mostly. For the last month, we've had a lot of amberjacks on the humps, and that's yielded some really big tiger sharks, bull sharks, and some of the guys that have been catching these sharks. Captain Eddie Anetti runs the charter boat The Gotcha out of Holiday Isles. He was fishing with mate Cody Bailey and Justin Baker just the other day. I've got a photo of these guys with a 750-pound tiger shark they released on the Alamorada hump. And then Captain Nick Stanzik out of Bud and Mary's on the B&M. He's been catching these tiger sharks from, I would say, 400 to 600 pounds, pretty regular on the western humps down off of Marathon. So plenty of big sharks. If that's what you want to do right now, catch a big fish, that's where you're going to want to go.
All right, well, speaking of big fish, how about the big fishing in the backcountry, inshore? What do you got for me?
You know, we'll talk about the triple tails to start with, and that's because I've been tarpon fishing a lot out to the west, out along the Gulf Coast. There's been a lot of triple tails on the incoming tide, and these fish are going to float in with the tide. They're pretty easy to catch if you got a light spinning rod and put a shrimp on there. Cast it right on their head. They're generally pretty eager to take your shrimp. Now, if you're a fly fisherman, they're a lot of fun on a light fly rod, something like a 6 or a 7 weight. A yellow fly, for example, works really well on these triple tails. There's been plenty of them on that incoming tide. We've had rising tide most of the day, good visibility, and you're going to see them floating right on the surface. And you just got to find them and make a cast to them. And they've been a lot of fun to catch and great eating.
What else you got inshore, Randy?
Our tarpon fishing's been pretty good this week, both in the back in the Flamingo area and also around the bridges. A lot of the guys that I've talked to locally around some of the bridges are getting 6 to 8 bites a day. Live crabs, live mullet drifting around the bridges. Depending on your tide, a falling tide, you might want to be ocean side. Incoming tide, you might want to be on the bay side. But a good number of fish all throughout the bridges from Islamorada to Marathon. And then the backcountry as well. A lot of the fly fishing guys are getting some pretty good fly fishing back there, taking advantage of some of this low winds that we've had kind of off and on. We'll get a calm condition, and then it'll be blowing the next day. But in those periods, these guys are having some great fishing with the fly rod. So it's tarpon season full on right now, about as good as it gets.
All right, great job, Randy. That's a great report from the La Jolla, Florida Keys region. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys. Tarpon drift around the bridges with live crabs or mullet early in the morning or late in the evening is going to be your best bet. And then yellowtails offshore. Start in the known spots, anchor in 60 to 80 feet, where you can have good current and be really patient, Lauren.
All right, guys, now let's check in to see what tournaments are going on in the Keys. First off, Marathon's Mother's Dolphin Tournament, scheduled for May 10th and 11th, features $5,000 for the heaviest dolphin caught and benefits Habitat for Humanity of the Middle Keys. Then, over $35,000 in cash and prizes awaits anglers at the 20th Annual Big Pine and Lower Keys Dolphin Tournament, set for May 17th to the 19th. And this event's special celebrity angler is none other than Captain Rick Murphy.
Oh, boy.
Next up, anglers fishing the Outback Golden Fly Invitational Tournament, scheduled for May 19th to the 22nd in Islamorada, must use a tournament-furnished tippet not greater than 16-pound test. Lastly, the Keys-wide Florida Keys Dolphin Championship, set for Memorial Day weekend in May, features a $15,000 top cash prize plus the opportunity to win a $75,000 Sea Hunter Bay boat for the anglers who catch the largest dolphin weighing more than 55 pounds. All right. Whew. A nice prize there.
You better introduce Andy Newman because he's going to have more surprises
He
for
definitely will. That's right. Let's hand it over to Andy Newman in the Florida Keys to find out more about our featured tournament. Hey, Andy.
Hey, how are you, Lauren and Rick? And listen, one of the Florida Keys' most established tarpon tournaments, it's the 47th edition of the Marathon International Tarpon Tournament. It's set for May 7th, 8th, and 9th in the Middle Keys. Now, Rick and Lauren, this tournament is steeped in history. It was first staged in 1966, and over the years, it's attracted a number of very serious tarpon anglers. Now, this is a team tournament with trophies and retail prizes for the top 3 boats. Proceeds generated benefit the Marathon Youth Club, and the tournament is to be hosted at the Tarpon Creek Bar and Grill in Marathon. More details on the Marathon International Tarpon Tournament, call 305-395-1376. Again, 305-395-1376. And, of course, for more details on other tournaments and events in the Keys, visit that Florida Keys website. It is flakeys.com.
All right, great job, Andy. We're going to go ahead and keep on moving, Lauren. Where are we going?
All right, well, this time stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to head due east. Plus, Dave is at the workbench ready to take you off the deep end.
Yep. We're going to catch some groupers. Aren't we?
Imagine.
Well, you're going to try to get me.
I want to catch groupers.
I don't know if I'll be catching any.
All right.
What will you be doing?
Listening to you talk.
Stealing money. Stealing money. That's what he's doing.
All right. Also, make sure to check us out on our website, ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. Like us on Facebook and even follow us on Twitter. Stay right there.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Lottery, Yeti Coolers, wildly stronger, keep ice longer, best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply, Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company, Chevy, the IGFA, Conservation Through Education, Get Your Hands Wet, and Olukai.
Want the power of a V8 with the highway fuel economy of a V6? Yes, sir. 40,000 more warranty miles than an F-150 work for you?
Sure does.
And you get 2 years of scheduled maintenance. Nice.
Copy that.
Sold.
Chevy Silverado. Right now, get 0% financing for 60 months, plus Chevy truck owners can trade up for an additional $3,000 total cash allowance, or Chevy truck owners trade up to get a $1,000 loyalty cash for a total value of $8,500.
It's 200 streamlined horsepower of Yamaha forward thinking. The all-new F200 inline 4-stroke. Whether you're an offshore angler, pontoon cruiser, bay boater, or walleye hunter, the responsive and fuel-efficient F200 combines amazing power and versatility in one incredibly compact and lightweight package. The all-new F200. Legendary Yamaha reliability and the freedom of forward thinking.
Imagine brighter futures, where doors open for Florida students every day. Imagine building a better tomorrow, where playing means we all win. Now celebrating $25 billion to education in 25 years. The Florida Lottery, just imagine.
Looking for some action? You've come to the right place. The Florida Keys and Key West. Yeah.
Now let's take a look at our news and notes from the FWC. All month long, learn the ABCs about boating safety at various locations throughout the state of Florida. And ladies, let's go fishing Treasure Coast in Stuart, Florida at Pirates Cove Resort and Marina, May 10th to the 12th. You can find out more information at myfwc.com. Right now, it's time to go off the deep end.
Well, Dave, like we do every week, we're over here talking about rigs and techniques at the Jägermeister workbench, but we had a special guest. Why
Well,
don't
you know how much I love to steal your money. I brought somebody who could do all the talking, and I can just stand here and feed a sentence and then listen to the knowledge, let it wash over me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That sounds like an outdoor writer.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, we do it, and he writes about it.
Exactly.
Will you introduce him for gosh?
Glenn Cameron from Fort Pierce, Florida, Floridian fame. He's probably one of the best sail fishermen that there is. And he's also...
That goes grouper fishing.
Well,
and he's also...
That explains why we brought him in for a grouper
And he's
show.
also really good at grouper fishing.
Wow.
No, I mean, you know, he's good at what he does.
All right,
he does
well,
it all.
let's get into it before we run out of time.
All right, well, first off, you know, how do you come upon a spot? We're going to talk about anchor fishing because I figured most of our fellows would probably like to anchor on a spot.
I would think most of the people would anchor. And you got to remember when you're grouper fishing, the groupers are related to structure. So I would typically go to the piece of structure and ride around and look at the structure with my bottom machine and try to figure out where the fish are in relation to that structure. Once you figure out where these fish are in relation to the structure, you try to anchor up current of it to where your baits reach the fish. So if you're marking the fish, your baits may or may not even be reaching those fish. So you want to try to think about where your line's going in relation to your boat and anchor ahead of those fish so that your line actually reaches them. Because a lot of times if you're marking the fish right below you and your lines are behind the boat, your lines are behind the fish.
And you got to be pretty close to the spot.
You need to be your baits need to be close to the spot. You don't necessarily want your boat right over the spot, but you want your baits in the spot so you can pull them away from the spot.
And most of the fish are going to be up current of the spot?
They're going to be facing into the current typically ahead of the structure.
All right, so once we locate where we want to be, we get the boat set up, then what are we going to do?
What's the first thing that goes over?
I drop over 2 great big baits to start with. See what's down there. Let's feel around, see what's got. So I typically drop 2 of my biggest baits.
A certain rig that you want to use?
In the shallow water, I will use the egg sinker sliding rig.
Okay.
Right, with an arm length of 80 to 120-pound fluorocarbon.
Yeah, that's diamond.
Right.
Let's talk about the hook. Is the hook important?
The hook is very important. I use an offset beaked hook. I'm in the Fort Pierce area, so where we fish, we were allowed to use a J hook. Above Sebastian, you have to use a circle hook.
Okay.
So where I'm fishing, I use this J hook, which is a mustad offset beaked hook.
Now you said something to me that I had never thought of before. You change the size of the hook, the gap of the hook,
based on the size of my bait.
Well, tell people at home why that is.
Well, you don't want a really small hook with a really wide body bait. So if you get a larger pinfish, you want a hook that's relatively, relative to the size of that bait. You don't want to use a 4-0 hook with a big wide body bait, where you might want to go to a number 7 or number 8 hook.
The bait actually gets in the way
right.
of the
they
hook
can't,
finding its spot.
There's not enough space.
Right.
For them, when they bite down,
so
they don't move
if you're using a smaller white bait, I'll go to a 4, 5, or 6. But when you start using like a blue runner, your average size blue runners, I'll use a 7 or an 8 or maybe even a 9 if you're using a great big bait. So you really want to gauge your hook to the size of your bait.
All right, so I see another rig here. What do you typically use
this
for?
Is my deep water rig, and I use the tri-swivel.
Got it.
A tri-swivel. And then I attach my lead below that, and I use a loop knot.
Okay, well, let's show this camera right here. It's real important so everybody
sees. And I use a loop knot so that I can remove and change my leads at will based on the currents.
I got it.
So a lot of times you'll drop down and you won't have enough lead, and so rather than having to retie, you just make this loop knot, and you can add lead at will. And this line, your main leader line is going to be directly related to the amount of current. The more the current, the longer the leader.
Because that allows you to just stretch out and get further away from your gear when the current pulls your bait back.
And as to where if there's not a lot of current and you have a long leader, you can't feel the bite.
All right, now you got 20 seconds to tell me what other real critical things that guys at home need to remember.
They need to be on the spot. The most critical thing of all of it is taking your time with your anchor and really getting on your spot. That is the single most important part about grouper fishing. You got to be on that spot to get the bite to start with.
Now we got 2 photos.
Yes, you do. Correct? This is from a couple of days ago.
Okay, you got a photo of
this was in 75 foot of water.
All right, and then who's the female angler?
This is Whitney. She is a real estate broker in New York City that came to visit.
Couple great fish, but Glenn, thank you so much for coming,
thank you for
sharing
having
some of these great grouper
Dave,
techniques.
Good to see you.
And if you want to go fishing with him, go to Floridian.
All right, Lauren, my reactor's telling me it's time to move to another region. So where are we headed?
I bet it is. Big thanks to Grouper Master Glenn over there. You can feel free to use that, Glenn. No problem. Guys, next up tonight is the East. I bet, I'm sure. It's the East regions where we're headed. That's where Captain Mike Holliday is. And Mike, you say in your region the grouper are best in the natural reef areas, but that's just for now. What more can you tell us?
Well, the grouper move into my area during the winter months. That's when they migrate here and they move into the shallower water to spawn. And the best fishing in my region takes place from Hopestown north to Vero Beach. And that's because you can get a good stretch of natural reef. And in May, you'll find the best concentrations of fish out in that deeper water. The best grouper fishing will take place on the rock piles, ledges, and artificial reefs in 110 to 250 feet of water, with a reef line outside the Ocalina Bank from Fort Pierce north, producing the best fish. You'll also find fish on the 6 and 8 mile reef, the Mullifin and Wixom Wreck, and even out to Push Button Hill. And grouper are basically garbage cans. They eat just about any bait, live or dead. They even eat lures. Well, sardines, cigar minnows, red fins, pinfish, those are all good baits, usually fished on 50 to 80 pound braided line, 80 pound monofilament leader, and an 8.0 4X strong VMC circle hook. And use just enough lead to get the bait on the bottom and just sort of bounce it along until you come tight. You can also use live grunts or grump plugs, a 4 to 10 ounce white arrowhead jig with a glowworm, or any of those large jigging spoons on the market right now. Average group in my region, 15 pounds.
All right, Mike, for whatever reason, your phone's fading out a little, so make sure you stay tight to it, okay? Tell me about the dolphin fishing.
Well, the dolphin and spring are here, and we're starting to see some really big fish. Fish over 30 pounds being caught from Palm Beach north to Fort Pierce. The best action's coming on north wind, or anytime the wind blows out of the east for 3 or 4 days in a row, and pushes those fish to the western side of the Gulf Stream. Unfortunately, That means the biggest fish are being caught on the roughest days. So that's sort of a nice reward for going out in those conditions. Look for the fish in anywhere from 100 feet of water on out, along the rips, edges, and color lines. Really, anything floating is good as well. You can troll ballyhoo with a pink, green, or blue and white skirt, or you can slow troll and drift live sardines, breadfins, and pilchards. Live bait's been hit or miss north of Jupiter Inlet and south of Fort Pierce, so you want to make sure to bring along some ballyhoo just for backup. Average dolphin in my area, 10 to 20 pounds.
All right, inshore, tell me what's happening.
Well, the spring mullet's on in the Indian River. The big sea trout have moved up into the shallows to feed on them. The docks along Indian River Drive from the power lines all the way to the library have got some huge fish on them, as do the spoil bars and islands on the east side of the intercoastal from Bear Point north to Harbor Branch. Look for the fish to be tight against the structures and shorelines on the high tides, and then in the deeper potholes during the afternoon low tides. Live mullet, sand perch, pilchards, they're all pretty hard to beat. You can free line them on a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 3/0 circle hook or a kale hook, or you can fish them under a weighted cork if you want. Also, large soft plastics like a Bass Assassin, opening night-colored Texas shad, or panhandle moon-colored die-dapper, rigged weedless, on a 5/0 worm hook. Those are deadly on those big fish. Topwater plugs will work as well. Floating mullet, shaped hard baits in that black and silver or green and silver colors. Those will all be good. Best action right now is right at first light. Average sea trout 3 to 5 pounds. A lot of fish over 8 pounds this week. Now the other bite, the snook bite, is really on fire in the east region. Pick a dock, a seawall, a river, a bridge, throw a live mullet or a mullet type lure up against it and hang on. I was talking to Captain Ed Zayak at Jensen Beach. He's averaging 20 snook a trip right now. Captain Greg Snyder of Stewart had 3 fish over 36 inches this week. The north and south forks of the St. Lucie River and around the Roosevelt Bridge are producing fish on live mullet, chartreuse jigs, and topwater plugs. There's also been a good snook bite in Lake Worth around the islands there. And there's been a really good push of fish around the docks near Jupiter Inlet. Now up in Fort Pierce, the Turner Basin, North Bridge, and Fort Pierce Inlet, they've all got good snook bites going. And that's on a live shrimp on a jig head, live thread center pilchard, or good chartreuse red tailhawk jig. Average snook 22 to 30 inches. I got a photo there. That's Stuart Smith with an over-the-slot snook, and he caught that in the Indian River fishing with his father, Lee Smith. That fish ate a live mullet.
All right, Mike, like we do every week, you are a bass master, so go ahead and tell us what your report is.
Well, bass fishing is just crazy good on Lake Okeechobee right now. We're going into our 3rd year with just huge numbers of huge fish being caught on the lake. And it's not just in one area. The fish are just all over the place right now. The Clewiston Channel, Wood Island, the Monkey Box, the Water Tower, Kings Bar, Observation Shoal. All those areas are producing fish, and it seems like the best action is taking place along the outside grass line or else in the maiden chain where the bass are chasing bluegills and small shad. Live shiners are catching the biggest fish with consistency, but trickworms, loggertails, tie dappers, little tappers, just about any soft plastic in a June bed with chartreuse tail or watermelon red glitter are catching big numbers of fish, but also white spinnerbaits, topwater plugs. Those are getting the school fish that you see busting on the surface at first light. Average fish right now, 1 to 3 pounds, but guys are catching 30 to 50 fish a trip with, several 4 to 6 pound fish in the mix. So Okeechobee's on fire and it just won't quit.
All right, you got a picture there you want to tell us about?
Oh, I do. I actually do have a picture. That fish was caught in a local lake in Stewart. That's Logan Del Vecchio. He caught that just on a community pond, and he was fishing with a live bluegill for bait.
All right, great report, Mike. Got a lot to cover. I'm going to go ahead and get to the Bennett Auto Supply hotspots from the East region. Captain Mike says inshore, pompano in the surf off of Jupiter Island and Bob Graham Beach. Live or frozen sand fleas or clam strips. On the high tide, you might want to throw a hookup, 1/4 ounce pompano jig in pink and white. And then offshore, cobia, snappers, kingfish along the ledge in 60 to 110 feet of water off of Jupiter. Live or dead sardines, pilchards, cigar minnows, lots of sharks around, so reel them in quick.
All right, when we return, we're going to look toward the southeast to see what Jimbo Thomas has in store for us, and then we're off to the Panhandle. Stick around.